Don't bottle it. Don't bottle it. Don't bottle it. Don't bottle it. Don't bottle. They're gonna bottle it, aren't they? What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Elementary Season 7, Episode 10, The Latest Model. Once again, the main case, not really that interesting. Even more so, I've already talked about how I won't be discussing the problems with not showing us how Sherlock and Joan come to the answers. But this one in particular, there were several things that were not revealed until the very end, and then all of a sudden the case is being solved. Like the fact that the girl was pregnant just comes out of left field, out of absolutely nowhere. And then the next scene after that, they're catching the bad guy. And it was related to her being pregnant and what the lady was apparently doing with her pregnancy. It's one thing to have a bunch of different clues and then one final clue pieces it all together. It's another thing entirely whenever you don't have any clues at all as to why the person was killed. And then all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, it's because of this. Really odd. And just the fact that these two girls were killed in the same place, they have the same carpet fiber on them. And so there's this idea that maybe there's a connection between the two cases, but it turns out no, it's just the deaths happened in the same place. The fact that they spent so much time on that and then it didn't amount to any connection at all outside of just the same location. I don't know. It just felt like there was a lot more potential for a really interesting case there that was not taken advantage of. But the Reichenbach stuff, that's where my interest has peaked. We see Sherlock taking on this case. We see him trying to help this guy, keep him from killing somebody, which will, of course, keep Reichenbach from going after him. And what I do find it kind of weird, first of all, the gun that Sherlock found at his place, Reichenbach seemed to think that he was going to go and shoot up a movie theater at the premiere of this one guy that essentially plagiarized his work. And here's the thing, I don't know how much I'm supposed to be looking into this, but a lot of this doesn't really add up. He's angry at this one guy for plagiarizing his work, and that suddenly jumps him to, I'm going to shoot up a movie theater that's premiering his movie, and on top of that, he's going to shoot it up with a pistol? I mean, I'm not really well versed in these mass shootings. I haven't done a lot of research into it, but I feel like anytime I hear about one of these mass shootings, it's somebody with an assault rifle or something a lot more powerful. I don't really hear about a lot of mass shootings that involve a pistol, because that's very limited magazine. How big is a clip for a standard pistol? I feel like there's probably 10 to 12 bullets in there, so it just feels very odd. It feels like a lot of this is not adding up, and I don't know if it's just bad writing, if it's bad directing, or if there actually is something deeper here. In my mind, the fact that it all ends with this guy killing his parents and then killing himself seems very fishy to me. And it almost feels like Reichenbach had a hand in that somehow. I don't know how. I also don't know why. I don't know why he would do that, put Sherlock on this case. Sherlock seems to have solved it, and then it just all goes sideways because of something he did. I don't know why he would do that. Unless it's just he wants to prove himself right, and Sherlock proving him wrong upset him to the point where he's like, no, I'm going to prove him right, and I'm going to make it look like that I was right, just to basically win this argument. Why does he want to show that he's correct here? The only thing I could think of is that he wants Sherlock to work with him, but the way to get him to work with him would be this case goes well. Sherlock does step in and help out and keeps this guy from killing anybody, and also keeps Reichenbach from killing him. That would probably get Sherlock on his side and maybe a chance for them to be partners. But unless he just wants Sherlock to think like him, to think that the only possible solution for these criminals in his mind is to kill them, I don't know. There's just a lot of possibilities there that I don't really know what they're planning to do with it. But again, all of these little inconsistencies, the mindset of I'm angry at this one guy for plagiarizing my work, to I'm going to shoot up a movie theater that's showing his movie instead of just going directly after him. And then on top of that, trying to do it with a pistol. And then on top of that, all of a sudden going from everything seems to be working out. Sherlock puts him in touch with a law firm that seemingly is going to help him and help him with this lawsuit he's trying to bring. And then just all of a sudden he snaps, kills his parents and kills himself. There's a lot of stuff here that doesn't really make sense. So I'm hoping it doesn't make sense because Reichenbach is doing something. But we'll see what they decide to do with it. So on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now episode 11, Unfriended. So this one was pretty good. Pretty solid setup for the final two episodes, which obviously will most likely be focused on taking down Reichenbach. I don't really know how to feel about the ending, and I'll get to that when I get to it. But first, just talking about the overall episode itself. It was a little coincidental that they just happened to find somebody who, first of all, killed an innocent person, because I don't know if this doctor is going to be the only innocent person that Reichenbach had killed to further his goals, but it did work out for them really well that they got somebody that killed an innocent person because of that. But on top of that, the fact that it's somebody that was lied to and did have the capability of changing their minds and their hearts. For instance, if this were Patrick Mears instead of this teacher, I don't think they would have been able to get through to him. I think he probably would have just gotten more stubborn and doubled down on his opinions and his beliefs into what Reichenbach was having him do. So it's a little coincidental that a lot of this worked out perfectly for them. But outside of that one little thing, I think the rest of this is really well done. I mean, just getting to see Reichenbach and see what his actual motives are. I think the only question I still have with Reichenbach and his motives is what happened with Wesley Conrad. That's his name. I remember Conrad. I'm not sure if Wesley was his first name or not. A lot of that stuff, first of all, it did get explained. The first part of it still hasn't been explained, like why he bought a pistol to shoot up a theater and why he decided to shoot up a theater just because this one guy plagiarized his work. But the rest of it has been explained. But why did Reichenbach still do this? What was his goal and trying to convince Sherlock that this is what happened? Because the only thing I can really think of is his ultimate goal is to create this basically machine that's going to take out threats before they do something awful. And we see that even with the death of Talia, that he wanted to take her out to get access to this thing, and her life was worth getting access to this technology that was going to make what he's trying to do work. But clearly it's a very warped mindset that he has. So how in his mind does it make sense to frame Conrad for a murder-suicide? Is it to convince Sherlock to work with him, to convince Sherlock that the way he wants to do it is the way that needs to be done? Probably the only question I still have after all of this, because the rest of it I thought was really executed well and showed a lot of who Reichenbach is just from that one scene in the police station when he comes to talk to Sherlock. But now let's go on to Moreland Holmes, because yes, he shows up to help Sherlock in this one. There still is that weird feeling of Sherlock feels a little bit more human in some scenes because of his father being around. But I did like the setup for it. It was kind of obvious to me that the one lady that Moreland went to go see was going to turn on him because that was the only person that we saw him talk to. So in my mind, that made sense that she was going to turn on him at some point, or she already had started working for Reichenbach. But the fact that he's dead at the end, first of all, we don't know if it's actually him. We didn't see it happen on screen, so there's a good chance, his ID was picked up. Maybe he left it on one of the bodies of the people that he took out on his way out of that situation. But going off the idea that this is him, it does lead to a good setup as far as Sherlock's personal motivations for wanting to take Reichenbach down. But there's a little frustration for me that we did not get to see any of this. And maybe they will show us. Maybe they'll cut back to seeing what happened in that moment, seeing him being shot or something. But assuming that he is actually dead and this is how we get it, we see the men walking in with the guns, we cut away and then cut to the end of the episode and Sherlock's finding out that his dad died. If that's the way they decide to do it, it's going to be a little frustrating. As much as I've talked about show don't tell this season and how the writers, the directors, whoever it is, really don't want to show. They love to tell us about it. This will be probably the ultimate pissing me off move in that storyline of they decide to tell me about him dying and tell me how it happened instead of showing it happen. And yes, we get the buildup. Yes, we get the guys walking into the room, but then that's it. And we just get to see Sherlock's reaction to hearing about it from Joan and Belle. Is that as interesting as maybe Sherlock finds out about it? Maybe Reichenbach tells him about it. Like, hey, you came after me. I warned you. And then maybe shows him the video of his father getting shot or shows him his father's body or something. Like, how much more impactful would that be? Then Sherlock gets back home and Joan and Belle are like, hey, one of our guys found a body and it had an ID on him. That's not nearly as interesting. So all in all, I mean, this was a fine episode in the sense of it was solely focused on trying to take down Reichenbach, which is nice. I'm glad we're getting an episode focused on that. There's some setup that they're doing. There's some moves that they're making that worry me because it's reminding me of some of the worst parts about this show is that stuff happens off screen and we don't get to see it. How many times has it happened with Mycroft stepping in and solving the problem and Sherlock doesn't get to do anything? Moreland steps in one season. He takes down the big bad guy and takes over that organization. We don't get to see any of that on screen. The serial killer that they introduced last season, he gets killed off screen. Like, there's so many things that they've done that have just undercut all of this buildup. And I'm really worried with the fact that we don't get to see Moreland die. I'm worried that something similar is going to happen. I'm worried that there's going to be something done that we don't actually get to experience. We just get to hear about it. And it's just going to totally undercut any of the emotion, any of the buildup that the season has been doing. Again, that's why I've talked about it so much this season, that it's been a cautious optimism. Like I was saying, there's a lot of things that they're doing that was getting me excited, was getting me hyped up to see. But I always had this little inkling of, I'm not going to get too excited. I'm not going to get too interested in what's going on, because there's a very good chance that they're going to once again undercut any emotional payoff. And I'm going to be super disappointed if I don't see that coming, if I don't expect that. So we'll see if all that happens. But with that being said, those are my thoughts on these 2 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 2? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for the last review of Elementary coming up soon. Also, check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on there, as well as some Let's Plays, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.